All right, so we're diving into something I think you're really going to find interesting today.
Yeah.
Capitalism versus socialism. I know it sounds maybe a little bit dry, like a textbook kind of thing.
Yeah.
But trust me, this is about way more than just definitions, okay? This is about like how these systems actually work
Right.
out in the real world,
Absolutely.
and like what they mean for you, like your everyday life.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is these are two ideologies that are really at the heart of so many things that we just take for granted.
Totally.
Everything from, how we earn a living
Yeah.
to the kinds of choices that we have as consumers.
Exactly. So to get to the bottom of all this,
Yeah.
we're going deep on a research paper, okay?
Okay.
It's called Capitalism versus Socialism, a comparative analysis.
Mm-hmm.
It's a seriously in-depth piece.
Right.
It was published in a respected academic journal,
Okay.
and it pulls from some like big sources, like
what?
World Review of Political Economy.
Wow. Contributions to political economy?
Okay.
American Journal of Sociology, like, the real deal here.
Yeah, serious stuff.
So we're going to be uncovering some pretty surprising stuff along the way.
I bet.
Like how capitalism can lead to those those companies, the superstar companies.
Right.
The ones that dominate like a whole industry.
Totally.
We're also going to be looking at how modern socialist movements are like taking shape in places like Latin America.
Uh-huh.
And we're even going to touch on
Okay.
Bill Gates's recent thoughts
Oh, wow.
about a potential crisis that's looming
Really?
for capitalism. Like,
Okay, this is going to be good.
yeah. So buckle up.
All right.
So Capitalism 101, let's start there, okay? Like at its core, capitalism is all about private ownership, right?
Right.
So think about it. It's businesses, it's individuals. They own the stuff.
Okay.
They own the resources. They own the means of production. And that means everything, okay?
From factories to farmland to the latest tech startup, like all that stuff.
I see.
Private ownership.
Yeah.
And driving all this
Yeah.
is this thing called the,
What is it called?
the invisible hand.
Oh, yeah, the invisible hand of the market.
Of the market. So that's the idea that like market forces, they naturally guide everything, right? Like supply and demand.
Yeah.
And that leads to, well, in theory, it leads to efficient outcomes.
Okay.
And it's a system that's built on competition,
Of course.
innovation, and of course,
Let me guess.
the pursuit of profit.
The pursuit of profit, yeah.
So, okay, think about your morning coffee routine.
Okay, right.
Like that whole experience, okay,
Yeah.
from the beans being grown like halfway across the world
Right.
to the barista handing you your latte. Like that whole thing is shaped by capitalism, like all those little interactions within a capitalist system.
That's crazy.
Yeah, even something as simple as choosing a job.
Right.
The salary you negotiate,
Yeah.
the benefits package, the competition for the position, it's all influenced by those same market forces.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's true now.
All right.
It's important to note, right?
Yeah.
Not all capitalism is created equal.
Okay.
The IMF, for example,
Okay.
they point out the difference between big firm capitalism,
Oh, okay.
which thrives on economies of scale.
Right.
Meaning, like, the cost advantages that come from producing, like, a ton of stuff.
Right. Mass production.
Versus entrepreneurial capitalism,
Interesting.
which is all about fostering new ideas and innovation.
Okay, so two different flavors of capitalism.
Those two different flavors, yeah.
Interesting.
And they both play important roles, right?
Yeah.
In a healthy capitalist system. But the balance between them can have a big impact on the economy.
That makes sense.
Okay, so now let's shift gears a little bit
Okay.
and unpack socialism.
All right, socialism.
I know this word sometimes gets a bad rap.
Yeah, it does.
But let's try to look at it objectively, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
At its heart,
Yeah.
socialism emphasizes social ownership
Okay.
or regulation of the means of production,
All right.
distribution, and exchange.
So essentially,
Yeah.
it's about prioritizing
Yes.
the collective good
That's it.
over individual profit.
Exactly. And while there are like different branches of socialism, right? They tend to share the goal of achieving economic and social equality for everybody.
Yeah, okay.
This often means the state takes on a bigger role, right?
Yeah.
Like regulating the economy and making sure resources are distributed more fairly.
Okay.
A good example of this in action is that, what is it called? The Socialism of the 21st Century movement.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which gained a lot of momentum, right?
Where?
In Latin America.
Oh, okay.
In countries like Venezuela, Bolivia, Ecuador.
Interesting.
And this movement.
Yeah.
It's about more than just economics.
Oh, really?
Like, it also champions things like social ownership, participatory democracy, economic equality. Like, they even talk about building a post-capitalist civilization.
Wow.
Focused on social justice and environmental sustainability.
That's a big goal.
It is a big goal, but it's a, compelling example of how socialist principles are being, like, adapted and applied in different parts of the world today.
I see. So it's not just this, like, old-fashioned idea.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's evolving.
Cool.
Okay, now let's get real about the pros and cons, okay?
Okay.
Of each system. Let's start with capitalism.
Right. Capitalism.
It's hard to deny, right?
Yeah.
That capitalism has fueled some incredible advancements and economic growth.
Like what?
I mean, just look around.
Okay.
At the variety of goods and services available to us today.
So many choices.
So many choices. Yeah. From smartphones and streaming services to life-saving medical technology.
It's true. It's true.
It's true. Yeah. Capitalism can be a powerful engine for innovation and efficiency.
Yeah. A prime example.
What is it?
Is the U.S. economy.
Okay.
Which has seen, get this, a 7-fold increase.
Wow.
In the contribution of small businesses to GDP.
That's huge.
Yeah. And a lot of that is due to the incentives that are built into the system.
Right.
We've also seen a surge in investment.
Oh, where?
In cutting-edge technologies.
Oh, okay.
Leading to breakthroughs in things like medicine, energy, communication.
Yeah, all that good stuff. Oh. But, this is a big but, okay? It's not all sunshine and roses.
Right.
Capitalism has its downsides.
Of course.
One major concern is inequality.
Yeah, right.
The gap between the rich and the poor often widens under capitalism.
It does.
With wealth becoming concentrated in the hands of a smaller and smaller percentage.
Of the population.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that concentration of wealth can have real consequences.
Right.
You know, it can undermine social cohesion and even democratic principles.
That's a big one.
It is.
We're also seeing the rise of what economists call...
What's that?
Superstar effects.
Okay.
Where just a handful of, like, really dominant companies.
Well, in certain sectors.
Yeah. Can stifle competition and limit innovation.
That makes sense.
Exactly. And let's not forget about the environmental impact.
Right.
Like the relentless pursuit of economic growth under capitalism, right?
Yeah.
Can sometimes come at a really steep cost to our planet.
That's true.
Leading to things like resource depletion, pollution, and climate change.
Yeah, even publications like Investopedia and the BBC have sounded the alarm about these issues.
So it's a real concern.
It is.
Now, you might experience this directly, right? Maybe you've seen your wages stagnate.
Right.
While the cost of living just keeps going up.
Yeah.
Or maybe you felt that pressure of a job market where it seems like only a select few are really reaping the rewards.
It's tough out there.
It is.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
Yeah.
Do these pros and cons resonate with you at all? Like, where do you see the strengths and weaknesses of capitalism playing out in your own life?
I mean, it's a complex issue for sure.
Yeah.
I think, capitalism has demonstrably lifted millions of people out of poverty.
Right.
And it's spurred technological innovation, there's no doubt.
Right. Yeah. And it's also clear that there's room for improvement.
Yeah.
And I think the challenge lies in finding ways to harness the dynamism of capitalism while addressing its inherent shortcomings.
That's the million-dollar question.
It is. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of capitalism and socialism.
We've been laying the groundwork, understanding the basics of these systems.
Right.
But now I'm thinking, like, historically, are there any parallels we can look to, when trying to figure out where we might be headed?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
History is full of examples of economic systems evolving, sometimes collapsing under their own weight.
Wow.
Think about the shift from, like, feudalism to mercantilism.
Okay.
Like, those were major shifts in how societies organize their economic activity. And these transitions weren't always smooth.
Right. Or peaceful.
So you're saying change is inevitable?
I think it's certainly a possibility.
Okay.
Especially if we don't address the challenges that are, becoming more and more apparent.
Like what?
Things like growing inequality, environmental concerns, the rise of automation. These all have the potential to put a lot of strain on capitalist systems.
As they exist today.
As they exist today, yeah.
It's like a pressure cooker, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, if the pressure keeps building without any release, something has to give eventually.
It's a great analogy.
Right. And it kind of highlights why these conversations are so important, right?
I think so.
We need to be willing to, consider different perspectives, even those that challenge our existing assumptions.
Absolutely.
So where do we go from here?
That's the question.
Right. Yeah. If we acknowledge that, change is potentially on the horizon.
Okay.
What are some possible, scenarios for the future?
Well, one possibility is that capitalism undergoes a major transformation.
Okay.
A kind of capitalism 2.0.
Capitalism 2.0.
If you will.
Okay.
This could mean a greater emphasis.
On what?
On ethical considerations.
Okay.
Sustainability.
Right.
A more equitable
distribution of wealth.
Exactly.
So a kinder, gentler capitalism.
In a way, yeah.
Okay.
It would require a shift in mindset.
Okay.
Moving away from just solely focusing on shareholder value.
Right.
And towards a more
stakeholder-centric.
Yeah, stakeholder-centric approach.
Okay.
Where the well-being of employees, communities, and the environment is taken into account.
That sounds promising.
It does.
But how would such a transformation actually happen?
That's a good question. Who would drive these changes?
Right.
It would take a multifaceted effort involving, governments, businesses, and individuals.
So all of us.
All of us, yeah. Governments could implement policies that incentivize responsible behavior.
Like what?
Things like carbon taxes or stricter regulations on pollution.
Right.
Businesses could adopt more sustainable practices and prioritize fair labor standards.
Right.
Individuals could make conscious choices.
As consumers.
Supporting companies that align with their values.
So it's about, a collective push.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For change, right. Recognizing that we all have a role to play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about understanding that our economic system isn't some abstract force operating independently of us.
Right.
We have the power
to
influence it, to shape it in ways that benefit both people and the planet.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, let's play devil's advocate for a moment.
Okay.
Some people argue that,
What do they say?
Tinkering with capitalism, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone.
Right.
They believe we need, a more radical solution.
Like what?
A complete shift away from capitalism.
That's a pretty strong statement.
What's your take on that?
It's a viewpoint worth considering.
Okay.
There are valid critiques of capitalism.
Of course.
Particularly its tendency towards inequality and its potential to exploit both people and the environment.
And there are historical examples, of socialist systems achieving some level of success.
Yes, there are.
Okay.
But it's important to remember that no system is perfect.
Right.
And socialist models have also faced their own set of challenges.
It's almost like we're trying to navigate this complex maze with different paths we could take, each with its own potential benefits and risks.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. So maybe the best path forward isn't this clear-cut choice between capitalism and socialism.
I agree.
Maybe the answer lies in finding a hybrid model. One that kind of draws upon the strengths of both systems.
Absolutely.
While mitigating their weaknesses.
Yeah, finding that sweet spot.
Right.
Yeah.
A best of both worlds kind of approach.
Exactly.
That's intriguing.
It is.
So can you give us some concrete examples of what such a hybrid system might look like?
Well, imagine a system that combines the dynamism and innovation of the market-based economy, but with robust social safety nets.
Okay.
Universal health care. Strong environmental protections.
So you're talking about an economy that prioritizes
Yeah.
both individual freedom
Yes.
and collective well-being.
I think that's the key.
Yeah.
It's a system that recognizes the importance of both economic growth and social justice.
Yeah.
It would require a delicate balancing act.
Of course.
But it's certainly within the realm of possibility.
This all sounds very theoretical.
Right.
Are there any real-world examples?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Of, you know, countries or regions that are experimenting with these kinds of hybrid models.
Like who?
Well, the Nordic countries
okay.
are often cited as examples of societies that have successfully blended capitalist principles with strong social welfare systems.
So they have like market-based economies, but also provide like universal health care, affordable education, generous parental leave policies, all of that.
Wow. So they've managed to find that sweet spot.
It seems so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Between economic efficiency and social equity.
Yeah, they're a good example.
That's inspiring.
It is.
It suggests that we're not like locked into a binary choice between two like rigid ideologies. We can experiment. We can innovate.
Absolutely.
And find solutions that work best for our specific circumstances.
I agree.
Okay, so let's assume that a hybrid model is indeed a viable path forward. What are some of the key challenges?
Okay, that's a good question.
That we need to address to make such a system work?
Well, one of the biggest challenges would be finding the right balance between government intervention and market forces.
That's a tough one.
It is,
Right.
How much regulation is necessary to ensure fairness?
Protect the public good.
Right.
Without stifling innovation and economic growth.
Too much government control could lead to, like,
it could.
Bureaucracy and inefficiency.
Absolutely.
But too little could allow for exploitation and market failures.
Exactly. It's a delicate balancing act.
It is.
And it would require, you know, careful consideration and ongoing adjustments.
It's not a set it and forget it type of thing.
No, not at all.
Right.
Another challenge would be addressing inequality.
Okay.
Even in hybrid models.
Yeah.
There's a risk
right.
that wealth could become concentrated.
In the hands of a few.
Yeah.
Leading to social unrest.
Right.
And undermining democratic principles.
That's right.
So how do we prevent that from happening?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
How do we ensure that
right.
a hybrid system
yeah.
doesn't just replicate
right.
the same problems
that we see in existing capitalist societies?
Yeah, we don't want to just recreate same issues.
Exactly.
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
We need to explore innovative solutions.
Like what?
Things like progressive taxation.
Okay.
Wealth redistribution mechanisms.
Right.
Policies that promote economic empowerment.
For all
members of society.
Those are bold ideas.
They are.
But they also raise some, you know,
what do they raise?
Thorny questions.
Like what?
Like how do we implement such policies without creating like disincentives for hard work and innovation?
That's a valid concern.
Right. How do we ensure that wealth redistribution is done fairly and effectively?
Those are all important questions.
Right.
Yeah.
It's complex.
It is. There's no one-size-fits-all answer. It would require, you know, thoughtful debate. Careful planning, a willingness to experiment and adapt.
So is it even realistic, like, to think that we can overcome these challenges and create, like, a truly just and sustainable economic system?
I believe it is.
You do.
Yeah. Right,
but it will require a fundamental shift.
In our thinking.
In our thinking, yes. So we need to move beyond
I think so.
the tired old debates.
Yeah, those old debates.
Between capitalism and socialism.
Right.
And embrace
a
more nuanced and pragmatic approach.
Exactly.
You're saying we need to break free from the ideological straitjacket and start thinking outside the box.
I think that's essential.
That's powerful.
It is.
It suggests that we have the agency.
We do.
To shape our own destiny.
Absolutely.
To create an economic system that reflects our values.
Our values, our aspirations.
And aspirations. Yeah. I love that.
a call to action, an invitation to engage in the critical thinking, the constructive dialogue that's needed to build a better future.
For ourselves.
For ourselves, for generations to come.
Well said.
Thank you.
I'm feeling inspired.
Me too.
I hope you are too.
I hope so.
This has been an incredible journey so far.
It has.
I can't wait to see where it takes us.
Me neither.
In the final part of our deep dive, we've still got a lot to unpack.
We do.
Especially when it comes to, like, how these systems impact people on a personal level.
The human element.
The human element, exactly.
It's important.
So stay tuned for part 3, where we'll continue exploring the future of economic systems and the role we can all play.
Excited.
In shaping a more just and sustainable world.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we're back. And as we wrap up our deep dive into capitalism and socialism, I keep thinking back to something you said earlier.
What's that?
About, navigating that complex maze.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground, the historical context, the potential for that hybrid model.
Absolutely.
But before we go, I think it's important to, zoom in on the human element,
I agree. At the end of the day, economics, it's not just about abstract theories and statistics, right?
Yeah.
It's about people.
Exactly.
It's about how we organize ourselves to meet our needs, create value, and ensure that, everyone has a shot at a good life.
Exactly. So let's bring it back down to earth a little bit, okay? How does living under a specific economic system actually, shape your daily life?
That's a good question.
Your aspirations, your values, even your sense of identity.
Yeah, I mean, in a capitalist system, there's often a strong emphasis on individual achievement, competition, the pursuit of material success, and that can be motivating, right? It can push people to innovate, strive for excellence, but it can also lead to a sense of isolation and a focus on personal gain over collective well-being.
Yeah, I can relate to that, that pressure to succeed. In a capitalist society, it's kind of a double-edged sword, isn't it?
It is.
That drive to achieve, it can be exciting, but also exhausting. It's like you're always on this treadmill.
It is. You're always striving.
Striving for the next promotion, the bigger house, the fancier car,
It's easy to get caught up in that consumerist culture that often comes along with capitalism.
We're bombarded with messages telling us we need more, more, more.
Exactly.
To be happy.
But what about the human cost of this constant pursuit of growth?
Yeah. What about the folks who are left behind,
The people who don't have the same opportunities, who are struggling just to make ends meet.
That's a big question.
It is. We can't ignore that. Capitalism, despite its strengths, it has a tendency
to what?
To create winners and losers.
Winners and losers, yes.
And all too often, the gap between those who have and those who have not, it just widens.
It does.
And that leads to social unrest, a loss of faith in the system.
It makes me wonder about, the psychological effects of living in a system that's, inherently unequal,
Yeah.
Does it foster resentment?
It can.
Like a feeling of being stuck in a rigged game?
It certainly can.
Yeah.
Especially when people feel like, they're working hard, but not getting ahead, while others seem to benefit disproportionately.
Yeah.
And that can lead to a sense of hopelessness, and erode trust in the system.
And how does all this impact our sense of community? Social cohesion?
Yeah, does a hyper-focus on individual competition make it harder
to what?
To cooperate, to care for one another?
Yeah. It's like we're all just pitted against each other.
It can feel that way sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where does socialism fit into all this?
Okay.
How does living in a socialist society shape people's experiences and values?
Well, one of socialism's core goals is to, level the playing field so that everyone has a fair shot at a good life, regardless of their background. And by providing access to basic necessities like
what?
Healthcare, education, housing. It aims to create a more equitable society. And this, in theory, can foster a sense of security, reduce the anxiety and stress that often come with living in a highly competitive
capitalist system.
Yeah.
That sounds appealing.
It does.
But does it actually work that way in practice? Are people truly happier?
Right.
More fulfilled?
In socialist societies, it's tough to say.
Yeah.
Some socialist countries have achieved a high level of social well-being, while others have struggled to meet people's needs and aspirations.
It's complex.
Ultimately, the success of any system depends on a multitude of factors.
Right, like its implementation, cultural context.
Exactly.
The specific policies put in place.
It's not a simple answer.
There's no, perfect system that magically solves all our problems.
No magic bullet.
No magic bullet.
Every system has its
trade-offs.
Its pros and cons.
So what does all this mean for us then?
That's the big question.
As we're trying to, make sense of this complex world.
Right.
What are, the key takeaways from our exploration of capitalism and socialism?
Well, first and foremost,
yeah,
it's crucial to remember that these aren't just abstract ideologies. These are systems with real-world consequences.
Absolutely.
That shape our lives in profound ways.
And we can't just be, passive observers.
No, we can't. We need to be informed citizens, actively engaged in shaping our economic and political systems.
We need to think critically.
We do.
Ask tough questions.
Yes.
And be willing to challenge the status quo.
I agree.
If it's not serving us well.
Absolutely.
We need to be mindful of the human element.
Yes.
Recognizing that economics is ultimately about people, not just profit. And maybe most importantly, we need to be open to
new ideas,
innovative solutions that could lead to a more just and sustainable future.
Well said.
So this has been a fascinating journey.
It has.
I hope you found it as insightful as I have.
I have.
Remember, the quest for knowledge is never ending.
It's true.
Keep questioning, keep learning. And keep striving to create a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
Couldn't agree more.
And with that, we'll bring this deep dive to a close.
All right.
Thanks for joining us.